Hello, Psychonauts. So, today I want to talk about the mushroom experience that I just had yesterday. It was my first psychedelic experience in nearly 2 years. So, I'm going to do a trip report, maybe not necessarily a event by event trip report, but I do want to talk about some of the major themes of the trips and what I took away from the trip and what the overall experience was like, especially after being away from psychedelics for so long. So, I ended up taking about a little over 2 grams of mushrooms. I had originally planned to take about 1.75 grams. Me and my husband split some mushrooms that we had, and we ended up having more than I thought. So I took a little bit more than I originally planned for, but not too much more because I really didn't want to throw off the plan too much. So I'm going to go over 3 major themes that really stuck with me throughout the trip, and the first one is going to be time. So as I'm coming onto the mushrooms, I, start to feel a distortion in my time perception. Specifically, I start to feel more sort of time dilation. Time seems like it's very stretched out, that it's almost not passing. I remember at some point coming up in the trip, I put on some music, and I can never think of what music to put on during a trip, so my brain always just defaults back to either the Beatles or Pink Floyd. So I went with Pink Floyd, I searched Pink Floyd, and I put on Shine On You Crazy Diamond, which is a really long song as far as songs go. And so that song was playing, the mushrooms were coming on, and I was starting to see some sort of psychedelic geometry revealing itself. I was starting to see tracers, with my hand, and so I was really trying to figure out the nature of time. Time is one of the things that I'm most intensely and profoundly curious about, and my mind wants to figure out what it is. Basically, my big takeaway, I've thought this for a long time, that time is not linear. Time is all there at once, and I feel like under the influence of psychedelics, you can start to see that. So one thing, I'm going to present this idea that time is space. So I started having this realization, and I've had it before, that time is spatial in the sense that, space all exists at once. Time is the same way. It all exists at once. That's the basic idea, that time is a structure. So it's interesting with like tracers. That makes me always think of time because, you're kind of seeing your hand, and then you're seeing like these images of it from where it was previously in time. So you're like, in a very literal sense, you're seeing time as a spatial dimension instead of experiencing it as this linear projection or progression. It's like you start to like become outside of it. It's the beginning of, transcending time. I know like in more intense psychedelic experiences with higher doses, you can transcend time entirely. So it makes sense that process would start to happen, this transcending time, and as you're sort of stepping outside of it, you can see it as this spatial dimension. And so there was that. Like I mentioned, the Pink Floyd song Shine On You Crazy Diamond we had in the background, it felt like it was going on for an eternity. I mentioned, I was like, it's a song, it's really, really long relative to songs, but it's only like, I don't remember how long the version that we put on was, but I mean, it's at most, 20 something minutes, which is a really short period of time. Like, it's minuscule. 20 minutes is absolutely nothing. But at the same time, 20 minutes can be an eternity. And it's just this really real weird feeling. So there was a lot of time dilation going on, and I was contemplating a lot about the nature of time. One of the next themes that sort of came up during the trip was the nature of the hallucinations themselves. I made an observation that I could get really into the hallucinations at some point, whether I was just sort of staring off at the ceiling or closing my eyes and, getting into some closed-eyed visuals. I could also just stare at something and see it as it is and see it without hallucinating anything, see it basically as my sober perception. And it's like I could turn these hallucinations on and off. And I know that may not necessarily be true with higher doses. You might not be able to have that effect, but I find it really strange that this hallucination is something that I can kind of actively control, and I can, I can get into the hallucination, and I can also come out of it and just see reality as it is. I was really asking myself, what is a hallucination? If it's something that I can just make myself see, or I can turn it off. There's patterns to it. It's not random. Hallucinations aren't random. I was thinking a lot about how psychedelics are portrayed in like popular culture. Like if you see it on movies, a lot of times there'll be this inaccurate portrayal that, you're just seeing things that aren't there. And that's not really the experience that I've had, and I think a lot of other people have had. It's not this random visionary, that has a different meaning in itself. It's not these random visuals. It's a geometry, it's a landscape, and it seems like it has its own existence outside of our minds. I don't know in what way. I really want to explore that idea further. I've been taking some notes on the idea of, do we create or do we explore the psychedelic realm? And, I want to explore that idea a little bit more, maybe in a later video. But yeah, so I was really contemplating the nature of hallucinations themselves, and I was also kind of entertaining the idea that, our normal sober waking perception is the hallucination. Like this is the thing that's not real. I'm sure many of you have heard this, plenty of times, but, psychedelics like take away the hallucination. We're perceiving things, we're not perceiving things that aren't there. Moreover, we're perceiving things that are always there that we normally just filter out of our consciousness, and we filter out of our waking perception because it's not good for survival. Which brings me to one of the last themes that I'm going to go over, and this was the theme of, I was really thinking a lot about human behavior and human game playing, both like in myself and then also as society at large. I don't know if it's obvious, but I'm a really introverted person. I'm not super social. I've never been super good at the social game. I see everybody around me engage in it, and I've always felt really disconnected from it. And that was even before I did psychedelics, but I think I sometimes feel it more strongly after having done psychedelics. Overall, it was a really good experience. I think I got what I was looking to get out of it, and it gave me a lot of new ideas and perspectives that I think I want to explore more deeply. So that's it for this trip report and this video. I will see you all in my next video.